Thanksgiving is here, and today I'm sharing the 5 worst Thanksgiving foods for your weight loss goals and a super sneaky hack on how you can actually still eat those foods that are not in line with your weight loss goals and still make progress. And the first worst Thanksgiving food for your weight loss goals, in no particular order, is mashed potatoes. Mashed potatoes are really high glycemic load because they're typically made from russet potatoes. And when something is high glycemic load, it means it really spikes your blood sugar and really spikes your insulin as a result. And since insulin is a storing hormone, this completely shuts off fat burning. Something that's considered a high glycemic load is anything that scores above 20, and baked russet potatoes has around a score of 33, so really, really high. This will likely be brought down a little bit because mashed potatoes are usually mashed with things like butter or milk that increase the fat and protein content and slow down the release, but it's still going to be extremely high. And this, above probably anything else, is also what's going to make you just absolutely get that food coma and crash. Now, you can pretty much cut the glycemic load in half by making the swap of using sweet potatoes instead of russet potatoes. So you can still have the potato experience, but not have such a huge impact on your blood sugar and insulin levels. Okay, the second worst Thanksgiving food for weight loss goals is cranberry sauce. This one also actually blew my mind. I'm not a huge cranberry sauce fan, but I also just didn't realize how much sugar is in it. It's mind-blowing. So I looked up a typical cranberry sauce recipe, and an average recipe that serves about 6 people has 1 cup of added sugar. So if you're to split that up into servings, you're looking at a whopping 34 grams of added sugar per serving. That is like pouring a can of Coca-Cola over your turkey. Holy moly, you are so much better off having gravy instead. Gravy is typically made with like bone broth, spices, butter, and then a little bit of flour, which that's the worst part about it. But even then, a whole recipe usually only has about 3 tablespoons of flour, which when you split it up between all the servings isn't that much. Okay, the third worst Thanksgiving food for your weight loss goals is pecan pie. Now, when we're talking pies, there's actually some that are not that bad. Pecan pie is not one of them. If you haven't made pecan pie before and so you don't really know the ingredients, a common recipe will have sugar, about 2 cups worth per pie, corn syrup, so even more sugar, butter, and pecans, plus obviously the pie crust. So not only is it high in sugar, but it's also high in fat. And when you have that high sugar, high fat combination, that's where you achieve the bliss point, which is where it bypasses our body's normal satiety cues and makes us want to eat more and more and more beyond what our body actually needs, which makes it nearly impossible not to reach for a second or a third slice or just even eat the whole pie. Instead, you can opt for pumpkin pie, and it is significantly lower in sugar. Okay, the fourth worst Thanksgiving food for your weight loss goals is my personal kryptonite, which is stuffing or dressing, depending on where you're at and what you call it. I could literally just eat this on Thanksgiving and be really happy, at least in that moment, until I felt absolutely wrecked the next day because it is mostly just made from like breadcrumbs. And since it's baked and you add in liquids that make it more condensed, it's so much easier to eat so much more of that bread than you would if you had just like a bread roll. And bread does have a really high glycemic load, especially when eaten in the amounts that you would eat at Thanksgiving. There are some kind of equivalent swaps you could do for this one, but honestly, nothing can really take the place of a good old stuffing. That sounds really wrong. But there is a way to eat stuffing and still make progress toward your weight loss goals, or at least not feel as crummy the next day. I'll be getting into exactly what to do in just a second. Now, the 5th worst Thanksgiving food for your weight loss goals is sparkling cider. Now, this is for the kids and even the non-kids out there. I think it's just a classic drink that's brought to every single Thanksgiving or every single Christmas dinner. Everyone knows the classic Martinelli's bottle, but 8 ounces of the sparkling cider has around 31 grams of sugar. And more than half of that comes from fructose, which fructose is the fruit sugar, but it's broken down in a different way than other sugars, and it has to be broken down by the liver, which means it is pretty easy to eat toxic levels of fructose and overload our liver. And when we overload our liver, it can increase insulin resistance and increase a process of new fat creation called de novo lipogenesis. You're actually so much better off just sticking to a dry farm wine or a zero sugar cocktail. And if you're someone who doesn't drink alcohol, sticking with like a sparkling water or something like Spindrift, where it does have flavor to it as well, will allow you to have that sparkling drink without any of the sugar. So all of that in mind, it's still Thanksgiving and we're still all inevitably going to have some of these foods. I mean, I'm personally still definitely going to eat stuffing. It's gonna happen. Now, the trick is in what order you eat your food. Eat the turkey, deviled eggs, ham, or cheese platter first, and then eat whatever vegetable dish you want, like the green beans or roasted veggies, and then eat whatever Thanksgiving treats you want after that. Do this, and it's been found to significantly reduce the blood sugar impact of those various treat items, which means that you won't get as high of an insulin spike from those foods. Arming yourself with the knowledge of knowing which foods are not as beneficial for your goals goals and which foods you should eat before that so you can still enjoy those treat items, will make it so that you can have that celebratory Thanksgiving or Christmas dinner or whatever holiday dinner you're having and be able to bounce back and feel so much better, so much faster. Also, one more quick tip, if you can go out for like a 5 or 10 or 20-minute walk after Thanksgiving dinner, your muscles are going to absorb so much of that excess blood sugar that it can also help to lower that insulin response as well. So enjoy your Thanksgiving dinner or holiday dinner. Make sure you enjoy time with your friends and family, and I'll see you guys in my next video.